All right, welcome to The Real Build. I am your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder, and today I got a big time, very special guest on the show coming all the way across the country from me, actually, from Long Beach, California. He's a real estate expert in all areas of real estate, buying, selling, investing, developing. Basically, he eats and sleeps real estate. He has successfully bought, sold, built, developed, flipped over $500 million in real estate. He's the author of a best-selling book, 100 Doors. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, ABC, New York Business Journal, Huffington Post, Inc. magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, so many more. He has a top 25 business podcast called the Andy Dane Carter Show. With over 1 million downloads. He has a show called The Real Estate Hunting with Andy Dane Carter with almost 1 million views on that. He's a coach. He's a top influencer on social media. Most importantly, he's a husband and father of 2. Andy Dane Carter, it is my pleasure to have you on The Real Build. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for the intro, and super honored to be here.
Yeah, done so many things. Man that wears many hats, so it's awesome to have you on. I'm excited about this to give my audience some value here. So what I usually start out with is kind of asking about your background. So, I obviously did some research on you, but not a lot of people know, your true story and how amazing it is of where you got to where you are. You've been involved in a lot of different businesses. At one point you went from making a lot of money wearing a suit every day to teach yoga and race your bike, making $20 a yoga class. So let's hear, who is Andy Dane Carter?
Sure. Yeah. So I was a poor kid. I was raised poor by a single mom. It was me and my little brother and my mom. We lived in a teeny tiny 1-bedroom, small little place in Long Beach on the quote unquote wrong side of the tracks. We didn't have much. We didn't have a fridge. Lived out of a cooler for a while until we could kind of get our feet, back under us. So my parents divorced when I was 4. And things got a little sideways for us, and my mom just did the best she could. And I learned really, really young that it was going to be me, or I was going to have to just figure this whole game out. And I grew up really fast, and I don't suggest that. And my 2 amazing children are 4 and 6 right now. And to look at them in the morning and to think the life that they have versus the life that I had is, it fills me up with joy. At the same time, it's like, you little punks don't know how good you have it. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade 1 second of it. It's given me this grit. It's given me this mettle, and this crazy work ethic that I would have never had if I would have had it, the quote unquote easy way. So I was a super good athlete, and I just loved to train and loved to work hard. And I didn't really have my dad around, so I did really well in sports for 2 reasons. One, I was just super physical, kid with crazy ADD, ADHD, all that stuff to keep me revved up. But I also wanted to make my coaches happy because I didn't have that from my dad. So I needed that, male role model. So I would outwork everybody on the team just so my coach would say, great job. That's how I just existed. And I did the same thing in business. I wanted my clients, I wanted everybody to be like, Andy, you're the best. I longed for that. So if you mix that with my drive, it's kind of over. That's why I can kind of do whatever I want. So at about 12 years old, I wanted this wetsuit, and I had to work to get it because we didn't have any money. So I literally went to all these different businesses to see if I could work. And this one place let me work there for $20 a day. As soon as school was over, I would go there, and then I would walk back to this shop and I'd hand them $20 so I could buy this wetsuit. Well, after months and months, because it was a $500 wetsuit, after all these months go by, he just handed it to me one day, and I had no idea it was all paid off. And I bawled my eyes out the whole way home. I get choked up. I've told the story 2,000 times. I still get choked up because I remember how that felt. And I'm like, I don't need anyone. I can do this on my own. And it gave me this incredible drive. And I worked ever since. I've literally owned businesses and restaurants and everything else. And I was one of the youngest wine sommeliers in the country at 21 years old and extremely successful in that whole space. But I put on 50, 60 pounds, got really unhealthy and really unhappy, and actually got super depressed for the first time in my life. And I hit pause for a month. I'm like, I got to figure something out. This is not going the right way. So I got super into yoga and super into health and nutrition. And after 30 days, I was so happy. I'm like, I'm never going back to that job ever again. I'm going to teach yoga and be a professional triathlete. So I quit, and everybody was like, this is insane. And I was making a lot of money. And then after about a year and a half of not working, I burned through all my money and I was back at zero. So I was just like, what am I going to do? And I didn't want to give up this incredible lifestyle that I created. So I had a buddy of mine who's like, why don't you just go get your real estate license? You know, like, you're a super smart guy. You built these businesses and companies and sales teams. I go, why don't you just do that? So I did. And sky's the limit in real estate, which I didn't really realize. You could make legitimate NFL money in real estate. There's no ceiling. So long story short, I fell in love with real estate. 2008, everybody's running out of real estate. I was running in, and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, your story is amazing. I mean, it's crazy how one thing leads up to another and up to another. It has similar situations with me. I mean, I didn't even think I was going to get into real estate, and I ended up doing it, because I grew up in construction. I grew up, digging ditches, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I personally didn't even want, when I was younger doing all that stuff, I didn't even want to be involved in the construction business, because in my head it was sweeping floors, and I'm
That's
like,
right.
one day I'm not even going to do this. But one thing led to the other, and I mean, it's the opportunity in real estate is, I mean, it's endless what you can do. So the amazing story right there.
Well, especially as a builder, right? So
Yeah.
When I was 14, I was working on a construction site that was mostly demo in like 30, 40 miles from the beach inland in San Diego, because that's what my dad did. He was a builder.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom shipped me down there for the summer for a month to go work on this huge church that they were demoing and to redo. And I thought the same thing. I was like, I'm trying to find out how I can get hurt every day so I don't have to go back to work because it's so damn hard. And I would dig ditches in a 105-degree weather, and not realizing, fast forward 20 years, it's like, oh no, real estate's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
You just got to do it the right way.
Yeah. And then, I mean, digging those ditches too probably helped escalate you to where you are today too. Plus you learned about those buildings and the construction industry and all that too. And I mean, it gave you a lot of knowledge and a lot of work ethic, because it's hot here in Florida too, and it's not fun being out.
I get it. I would not want to be outside doing stuff in Florida in the summer.
Exactly. So I want to, let's discuss your business a little bit. So why did you choose to be in the real estate and real estate investing? What was your reason overall?
Sure. It was freedom and lifestyle. So when I first got into it, I was like, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make like 100, 200 grand a year. It's going to be cool. I'm just going to live this really chill life. It's going to be great. And then I realized very quickly that I could do that in about 6 months. So there's a way to stack that. And then I could buy stuff that's going to create cash and income for me. So what happened is I'm on this long bike ride. I used to go on these like 4 or 5, 6 hour bike rides, and I would listen to a book. So I would listen to like an audio book. I'd go through the whole book on one ride. And one day, just so happened to be listening to Rich Dad, Poor Dad on a big long bike ride, and like the light bulb just kept going off. And I was like, wait a minute, this is real. Like, this is possible. You can do this. And then sure enough, within 6 months, I was doing everything that was in the book. And then the book that was wrote by me is like the follow-up book from 100 Doors. It's like, okay, now you're going to do this with 2, 3, and 4 unit buildings. Then you're going to exchange those into larger ones. Like, I'm not that smart. I got D's and F's in school. But the math part of real estate really made sense to me. I'm like, wait a minute, I can depreciate this asset at this ridiculous rate. I can use somebody else's money to help buy this giant asset, and then my tenants are going to pay for it all? How many of these can I buy? And that's when I went all in. And then after I did pretty well for myself, I was like, wait a minute, how many single moms are out there that don't know they can put 3.5% down and buy a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex and live in one of the units and rent out the rest to cover almost the whole mortgage? And then how does that change their life? I mean, if you're a second generation renter and you live in Florida, and you're like, wait a minute, there's things I can do. I might not have any money now, but if I start saving in 5 years, I could save 20 grand and make a play.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to me too, how many people don't really know that avenue of real estate that you just talked about, though.
I had no idea. And I was 30 years old, and I'm in this huge boardroom. Actually, I was 31, in this huge boardroom with all these people and lenders and investors, and the lenders were talking about 3.5% financing on triplexes and fourplexes. I stopped the whole meeting. I was like, time out. Wait a minute. You can do what? I can put down $24,000 on a $700,000 fourplex and live in one of the units for a year? Sign me up.
Yeah. And that's awesome too, because, we go through life being taught that, as we get older and as we become, get families and stuff like that, we're taught that, all right, you need to buy a single family home. You know what I mean? So you never really hear this or have heard this growing up. And it's definitely the best route to go too, because you can make a lot of money doing it. And
it's safe. Let's say the worst thing happens and you and your wife you both lose your job. Worst case scenario, you have 2 to 3 other families paying down that asset where you live and keeping you protected until you can make the next move. Even if you're on unemployment, you're going to be able to cover your portion of the mortgage. That's what's so important for me, is it's just a hedge. And then if the market's going up, maybe you suck out like a little bit of equity, and then you buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Now you have an income property and you have a house. And if that's all you did for 20 years, you're looking really good in this country. Look at all the trajectories of real estate from 2000 to 2020. I don't care what you bought, you won. It doesn't matter if you bought a piece of land that's still sitting there, it's up.
Yeah, exactly. And you do a really good job at teaching people that with your free content too. So
I'm trying, man. I spend $10, $15, sometimes $20,000 a month on putting out free content so people get this concept. I'm just listen.
Yeah. So you dove into this a little bit, and me doing my research on you too. You didn't go your typical route after getting your real estate license. You said you wanted to do something different and not put the name tag on and work with your buyers and sellers and show property and so on. I actually got into this with my last guest too. He's a wholesaler, and he chose to go that route because there's more of a gap of money to be made. You don't have to take as much time. Then you're working for whatever the percentage is, so on, and you get less for all that time spent too. So instead you chose to target investors and investing in real estate. Why did you make this choice to go that route? And tell me how it's helped you develop into who you are today.
Sure. So for me, it was, how fast can I become a real estate investor? I don't know that much, but I'm a pretty smart guy for business, but I didn't understand the business of real estate yet. So I was like, all right, I need to be around people that are where I want to go. If I have a name tag on and I'm working for Century 21, nothing wrong with them, but now I'm just around those people that are doing those kind of deals. And I'm not really around investors, and that's not really where I want to go. So I need to get around people that are doing what I want to do in the future. So that's exactly what I did. And I was at this humongous brokerage, and they're all fired up, and we're going to do this stuff. And I go, don't even print my cards. There's no way I'm giving you 40% of my commissions. You're out of your mind. And I just went. I went and found a little teeny tiny brokerage. It was 100% online. It was like $1,000 a file, one of those things back in the day. and I targeted investors big time. And I went down and I went and worked at this small little firm that my two buddies, had for free. I'm like, just all I need is a desk. Give me a desk. I'll bring a computer. Just squeeze me into the office. I'll come down every day. And I learned, and I went really hard, really fast because, again, was single, didn't have kids, wasn't married. I was working 18-hour days and I learned the MLS. Do you know how daunting it is to first see the MLS for the first time after you pass your test? Like, I'm never going to learn this. I locked myself in my house for 3 days and I figured it out. And then I got really good on the phone, and then I got really good at building relationships and networks with other brokers that had deals. And I got really, really good at wholesaling. I mean, it wasn't near as cool as is now, but I was doing quite a few deals. I did 86 files my first year.
Wow.
Here in Southern California. So there was a lot of business.
Yeah, and then you got where there's a lot of competition too, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. So I want to talk about the process of real estate investing, so potential customer can have a better understanding of how to go about it.
Sure.
So, I want to start with how the real estate investment process works. What steps do you take when looking for investments for your clients or for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Let's discuss the process and the stages from, let's say, the pre-planning until the home is closed. Explain each stage, what someone needs to expect throughout that process, because I know it's kind of a long process and not a lot of people know how to go about it.
Yeah, no, it's a very long process. And if you could see my desk here, there's just papers stacked everywhere from stuff from the MLS, stuff that gets sent to me from all over the place. So for me, everything starts with the deal. It starts with the acquisition. As I'm sure you know, you make all your money in the AC. So everything is all about the acquisition. I do a lot of due diligence. And what due diligence means is research on the property. I go down to the city, I vet the seller, I really vet the listing agent or the wholesaler that's trying to bring me the deal to see if they're, good, bad, or shady or ugly. And then as soon as we have what we're looking for, but what we typically look for are what's called underperforming assets. Underperforming assets, very simply said, is either a house, a condo, a townhouse, or a giant apartment building where the rents are below market and the property has fallen into a little bit of disrepair because either it has a very old landlord or it's in a trust or it's owned by a gigantic company that's just part of their portfolio and no one's really paying attention to that thing anymore. So we like to look for the grass that's a little bit, grown, paint's chipping, stuff that we can fix relatively cheap and really, really maximize our profits. There's a thing called a gross rent multiplier that all of your listeners need to look up. It's one of the greatest secrets in all of real estate, is when you can increase the rents by $50 or $100 per door, most banks will look at that as you just got another $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 in value to the bottom line of that asset. So what we look for is, where can we raise the rents where we're still below market? And then do a little bit of paint and a little bit of rehab. We like to buy buildings that are fully occupied. We like it safe and secure. Some people might leave because of the rent raise, and that's when we have a clean, start slowly redoing each of the units. We don't like to go in there, kick everybody out, rehab all the units, then try to re-rent them for top market and then sell it. Some firms, that's their business model. We don't like to disrupt families like that, so we go in really slow and really fair and really quiet because we want to make everybody happy. We want the city to be happy. We want the tenants to be happy. We want our investors and ourselves to be happy, but we really want to make a difference in the community. And that's what's been really, really successful for us. And that's what we look for. But bottom line is we look to acquire underperforming assets. And if so many people are like, how do I find that? You don't have to be a licensed agent. You can go to realtor.com, look up multifamily, and look at the rents. If you have a fourplex that's in a certain zone or zip code, and the rents are $650 to $750, and then you're searching and you find one that's kind of the same, it's kind of the same building, kind of the same square footage and bed bath count, but the rents are $450. Well, now that's something to look at and maybe pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're talking to the agent, how motivated is the seller? They're super motivated. Are they so motivated they would maybe want to do a seller carry? We're in an interesting time in the market. So we're just having these phone calls to see how motivated they are and to see if we're going to be putting like a small amount down they're going to carry, or if we're going to finance the whole thing, or if we're going to pay cash. So we ask a lot of questions. Most things you see on these TV shows or people are flipping houses, it's really fast. Some people do that. We go real slow, so we don't make big mistakes.
Yeah, I mean the TV shows make it look too easy. That's
because it's not real. They film most of them down here, and two of the contractors are my really good friends that do like the builds.
Yeah,
and they're like, yeah, this is just TV.
Yeah, let's do it real quick. Fast forward how many months later, and then speed it up on the TV.
Oh, here's what we spent. Here's how much we made. Yeah, nope, not true.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people got into flipping, and a lot of people that did shouldn't be in it too, right? So
and that's why they're in a pickle, because they sucked out $200,000 from their house because they went to a seminar and paid some charlatan 9, 10, or 15 grand to learn how to flip houses with other people's money, and they got burned. Like that's a big reason why I put out so much free content, is like, don't get burned by these shady mastermind, like straight charlatans.
Mm-hmm. Do the research. Take the time to educate yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on that topic, so if somebody is thinking about getting into real estate investment or investing, what is the first step? So how do they get money to start? Did you use your own money or do you borrow money? What's the best way to go if somebody's thinking about getting into real estate investing?
Sure. So you have to be educated. So tons of podcasts like this. Read as many books you can or listen to books, get educated, ask tons of questions before you deploy your own capital, first and foremost. You either have two things. You either have time or money. So if you have time, like I did in the beginning, but no money, I had to go hustle the deals. So once I had the deals, I had the leverage. The money is the easy part. Everybody has money. Not everybody has deals. So once I changed that thought process in my head, I realized like, oh, whoever has the deals actually has the leverage. Because I could take the deal, shop it to 12 investors and say, look, here's a deal. You guys are going to make a couple $100,000 on this flip. I want 10% of this. Plus I want to write up the offers so I can get the commission on the buy side. And then I want to list it for 1% when you guys are done. Oh, we can't do that. Okay, cool. No problem. I'll bring you guys the next one. And then I shop it down the list until someone says, yes, cool, now I'm in. That's not how it started. It started with me getting deals and making them as happy as I can. Here's a deal. They're making $100,000, almost a lick off every single one. I was saying, I'll make 10, they make 90. I make 10, they make 90. My whole game plan was to get invited to their Christmas parties. I wanted to be part of their world. So I ate it for the first year until all of them were like, Andy's the greatest. And I'm like, that's right. Now I want a little more. Yeah. And then it was slow, like so many wholesalers. And I talked to 2 kids this morning, 2 from different states, had the same thing, had the same program, like, hey, there's this one here. And the dude that called me here in California said, all right, the lowest I can go is 390. I got the thing, give me this whole story like I've heard a million times. And then I go, you know what? It's way too tight, pass. And he's like, what about 350? Like 40 grand, just off. That he was just going to take. Yeah. Like, I don't care if they make money. That's fine. You should make money. But if I can't pencil the deal because you want to make so much, we have a problem. And then I go, nope, now it's a definite pass. And then he said, what about 335? That's as low as I can go. And I go, you just got blacklisted for life.
Wow.
That's it. Just greedy little scumbag. So stupid. If he would have came at me and it's like, look, Andy, I got this thing tied up at 325. I can probably make 30, 40, or 100 grand on this. It's really important for me to build this relationship with you. I want to do a bunch of deals with you. So is it cool if we take this one down at like 360? You're going to hit your number with your eyes closed. I'm still going to make 35 or 40 grand. I'd be like, write it up. Instead, that happened. And I would have probably done 2 deals a month with this kid. He would have made 400 grand off of me in the next 12 months. And instead, he's literally blacklisted.
Yeah.
First deal we were going to do, gone. I have no patience for it because I did that for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I was so fair. I always had the investors back. I always did research on the deals before I sent them out to my wholesale list because my time is so important. And I tell these guys, I'm like, you waste my time, you're out.
I mean, it's your spot. And prior to that too, doing your research on anything too. I mean, I think I was on a podcast once. Somebody asked me, "What should you do prior to getting into the construction industry or building houses?" I said, "Go work for a builder that has a very good reputation. Don't ask for much. Follow them around, learn the business, learn every in and out of it. Because majority of the builders that, especially now that times are good." Everybody with a pickup truck becomes Joe Builder is what they say. I'm going to make it big, this and that. And then when things slow down, well, they're gone. They're nowhere to be found. And it's all about constant research, constant, following somebody around or working with somebody, just like you said too, and just getting to know the business in general. But also it's about building that long-term relationship. And not like your example with the guy that just obviously, tried going way, way too much too. If he would have just played it right, then he would have had that long-term relationship with you.
And we did a bunch of deals. Same thing with construction, or same thing with like an investor. If you can go work somewhere for very little, like you said, you're going to learn 25, sometimes 30 years worth of what someone's gone through. They're going to basically hand to you in a year's time when you're working for them. Like going to work for somebody and they're going to pay you to learn from them is a really, really good idea. Like they don't think about it like that. It's like, oh, this guy's making all this money. No. You're learning what took them 30 years to learn in 12 months. There's a price tag that comes with that and you're still getting paid. So like, I have no patience for people that are unwilling to do that.
Yeah, it's I think even like there's a realtor like or a broker like Ryan Serhant even said, he goes, my first year I worked for nothing. Tom Ferry, who I know, he's even said it, work for somebody that's successful in the business within real estate, follow them around, shadow them, work for free, offer to do whatever it takes and learn, because what you just said, I mean, you're going to get how many years of knowledge within a 1 year's time, and then you'll be able to take off with business. So
there's so many people that I've trained and coached and mentored and helped out. And like, I just taught you how to make money anywhere in the country for the rest of your life. You can go make 6 figures anywhere in the country and not know a soul. Hop on a plane with a backpack and in 12 months have a 6-figure business. Like, that's probably better than you going to whatever college you went to for 4 years and spent $200,000 in student loans.
Yeah. Spot on. I love it. So let's keep going on the investment side here. So what type of properties are you targeting the most? I mean, I know there's foreclosures, discount homes, fixer-uppers, handyman deals, investment homes, REOs, so on. So what are you targeting the most as an investor?
We love multifamily real estate, like 2s, 3s, 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 units. We like the large multifamily buildings. They're super easy to get loans. They're really easy to leverage. We haven't built in the past 2 years because of the market. We didn't want to get stuck. So we actually stopped doing the stuff from the ground up. We still flip a decent amount of properties, but it's not nearly like the 160, 170 a year we used to do. And we were a little firm. So we just look for deals. Like, I like the easy ones, and I'm super proud of this insane new team and product that we're launching. It's kind of a traditional retail space for real estate here in Long Beach, but we're going to really focus on like how to show people all of the ridiculous upside to learn how to become an investor, and then to teach real estate agents how to become investors as well. But we predominantly look for 2s, 3s, and 4s. 10 to 12s to 20s is like our wheelhouse where we do really well. And we stay in our lane. We like to buy things small and then we exchange them into bigger buildings. And we play the long, slow game. We only flip houses to get capital to buy more buildings. Like, that's our entire business model.
So on your investor side, because obviously you help a lot of investors too. So what are you doing to stand out, from the rest of the many real estate investment firms like or companies like yourself?
Sure.
What are you doing to stand out from the rest of them? I know you just said you play the long term and so on, but I know there's more to it. So what do you do to
Yeah,
stand
no, very much so. So it's a one-stop shop. We have everything under one roof. We have the property management arm. We have the construction arm. We have the hard money arm if you need it. We have everything. So we have a couple different things that we do and a couple different products where you can either be just like a regular cash investor. You send us a wire. That money gets secured to like a first deed of trust on some building or some property that we have. So that money is safe and secure. So if we decide to say, see you later, we're off to Vegas, you still own the real estate. And it's usually way over collateralized to make everybody happy and safe. So we do that, and they get paid between 8 and 11%, depending on how long you've been with us for. We used to pay investors 16 to 18% back in the day. But that was like the Wild West. So we have that, or we do what's called a 50-50 split with some of our investors, where they buy the property, we pay for all of the actual rehab and construction costs, and then we split we actually split the profits, or we split deals, or we find products that are distressed, fix them up and sell them to our investors as just a hold property, then we manage it for them. So we have a lot of different products, but we don't take on that many investors. We are very selective. We say no to way more money than most people do, just because we don't want to have your capital unless we can deploy it and make you money and us money. So if you're going to have whatever 20, 30 million and we don't have a perfect deal for you, we just pass.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I mean, if you take on everybody, you can't give them the same service too. On top of which is kind of going to go into my next question, but on top of and I've learned this being in the building business too, well, in real estate too, is you're not meant to work with everybody. So,
No.
Yeah.
And I say no to most deals. And that's really hard for a lot of people with a lot of money to hear, because they don't hear no very often. Mm-hmm. And if you have like a type A personality, it's like, what do you mean you don't want my $9 million? I'm like, I'll take your $9 million, but I can't deal with you. Like, you want to do things your way, and that's not how we do stuff around here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that kind of dives into my next question. I always talk about quality, with every guest on my show. It's so important, whether it's in building or whether with, dealing with the customer experience. We have to deliver a quality product or experience to every single person we work with or deal with in life in general. So how are you doing this with your company?
It's a lot of hands-on. Like, we love to over communicate everything. If we have to basically roll you back from 12% down to 11, trust me, you're going to know exactly why. And it's because we can't continue to eat that 1% that we've been eating for almost 12 months. So we just always over communicate what's going on. That keeps everybody happy. We communicate with our investors daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. So it just depends on how you want us to touch you back. If you're like, look, I'm a very busy attorney, I got trials all over the place, just send me an email. That's how we communicate. So we have a very specific time and experience for that kind of investor. And again, we don't solicit anybody. You have to know somebody that's already doing business with us. They have to vouch for you. Everybody has to come in and sit down, and then we all have to agree. Like, there's many, many steps. Most firms just like, yeah, give us your money and we'll see what we can do with it. Not us, because my quality of life is too important. Yeah. I don't want to be a slave to making you money. That's not why I got into this game.
Yeah, awesome. Great answer. So I mean, and bouncing off of that a little bit too. So you have said you specialize in building relationships, sticking to your word, and closing deals that nobody else can close. You position yourself. You position yourself with the right investors to close some big real estate deals, and closed over $500 million in real estate. alone, which is very impressive. So how do you do this? Can we discuss this a little bit further?
Yeah, so I keep turning the Rubik's Cube until I get all the colors to line up the way that it's supposed to for me. I will get 100 no's, and I'm like, okay, but if you thought about this way, what if we possibly did this? What if we shaved off this point here, and then we baked it into the back end over here? And then I literally keep talking until I at least get all right, let me talk to the seller and see what we can do. So for me, it's not just taking that no, and then it's going and looking for deals. I'm not afraid to get in the streets and drive these properties and see if it's a great deal, and then drive my car straight to the city, pull the file, and then go find the contractor that worked on it before, look him up, meet him for coffee, and then try to figure out what happened with, like, I just keep going until we get what we want. And most people want the easy check. Yeah. Most people won't do that much work for somebody else's money. And I'm making money too, don't get me wrong, but I'm definitely the harder working horse in the fight. So for me, it's right there, straight on top of our website. Adding value first is the most important thing to us. If we over deliver value to all of our clients, to our tenants, to the people that work for us, if we're just a value first company, we're gonna have business. We might not have it all, but we're gonna have happy people that work for us, happy clients that have their money with us, and then we have happy money. And when you have happy money, everything gets better. And money gets happy when it's making more of it. Money's like rabbits. It doesn't like it when it sits there. It gets dusty.
Yeah, very true. I mean, it's all about value, just like you said too. It's going above and beyond too. Even being even your typical real estate agent, going above and beyond for the client. I've even fixed stuff for clients too. That was on the inspection report and just did it for nothing, just to make the deal go smoothly and so on, which not a lot of agents know how to do that kind of stuff. But
it doesn't even go in their head. It's like, what do you mean I should throw in a full point? Because you should throw in a full point. That's why. Make the deal. It's volume. It's relationship. I want clients forever. I want my clients to tell their kids. And it's just like, that dude, he was really good to me from the very beginning. And I just like the way that feels. And so that's how we roll. We just treat everybody really well. And then we're very transparent. Again, like, I'll tell somebody, I could make $293,000 off you right now. I'm okay with just making $2. So you can have an extra 90 grand. And here's the math, and here's the transparency. Like, that's what we do. Or, so if it's a listing, right? It's like, look, we could very easily list this thing for 6%, but then that's gonna cause a problem for your exchange because you're not gonna hit your metrics. So we'll list it for 2, and then we'll figure out something else on the next deal. Like, we're trying to make it work for everyone. We're not one-sided.
Yeah, and it's a constant communication too. I always bring that up. Constantly communicating throughout the process, even after too. I mean, me being in construction, building homes. I mean, even after their warranty, we're still helping people, continue to fix stuff and deal with different things and so on.
Because that's your business. Like, you get 5 deals per every one you close. So if you're constantly nurturing them and you're doing a good job and you're reaching out like, hey, here's what we're doing, and here's like, hey, you guys wanted to put in a pool. It's been like 2 years and it's going to be really hot this summer. Like, do you still want to redo your pool or your screen enclosure? Like, when you're following up with them, you're staying in top of mind. So then they don't think of somebody else like, hey, do you know a contractor? Knowing damn well they used you 2 years ago, but you're off their radar. That's why Facebook is so important. Instagram is so important. Podcasts, email, follow up.
Yeah, exactly. So, big topic. I mean, it's in every industry too. I always like to talk about price because we both know, it's the main thing everybody looks at. In your industry, a little bit different, but you specialize in negotiating. We brushed on this a little bit. What should investors know upfront when discussing pricing structure on a potential investment property?
It would probably depend on the property, but you want to know it all. Like, I want to know all of it. I want to know why they're selling. Is it a divorce? Why is the divorce happening? I want to know whose fault it is. I want to know as much as humanly possible about the deal. The more of that, the more I can make a wise decision for myself and my family or some of our investors. So the first thing is like, what's going on with the physical asset? Like, I want the file. I want the file from the city. I want to know if there was a room put on without permits. Like, trust me, all your agents out there, all your wholesalers are going to be like, oh, this is a home run. It's a slam dunk. It's a no-brainer. Like, those are all red flags. They're always going to tell you, oh, you know, it's only $37,000 in rehab. And I'm like, you've never flipped a house in your life or done a deal, but you're going to tell me how much rehab cost is? Now save your breath, bud. And then I want to know like what the hard math is. So that's probably a very long-winded answer for just know the math.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and educate. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what on brushing on that a little bit more though, too. Obviously, when you're looking at investment properties for your investors, you always deal with. I mean, this is in real estate in general. You deal with that seller that thinks his home is worth more than it is. So, you know, and then you can show them comps and whatever. They still won't go around it because they're emotionally attached. That kicks in.
Yeah. And so we don't deal with emotion. Okay. We only deal with math. And I tell like the sellers, if we're on that side, I tell the buyers, if we're on the buy side, I go, emotion doesn't count. Mm-hmm. Doesn't count. I don't care if you love it. I don't care if you built every tile by hand in the bathroom and you think that it's worth this. The math says this. The market's math says this. Here's the actual math that's mixed up with the other math with the real math. That's it. We literally go off of math. So if they're like, screw him, he doesn't know what it's worth. Okay, cool. Keep us in mind. If you change your mind, here's our price, here's where you're at. I'm not fighting for a no. Mm-hmm. So I spend all my time on yeses. I keep the negotiation going. I never negotiate against myself. People are like, hey, just make me an offer, $1. Make me a real offer, $1.50. Like, I need to know where I'm at, and I'm not going to waste my time. So, like, that's the kind of stuff that I deal with constantly because it's a very emotional business. As much as I wish it was just math, it's not. People are very emotionally tied to properties if they brought their kids home there from the hospital. Like, I get it. Like, I understand. What does the math say? Here's a fair offer. I always like to do the threes. I have 3 offers for you. Here's the all-cash offer. We close in 5 days. Here's the other offer is if we fix up the property a little bit, and we put a sign in the front yard, we'll probably get somewhere around fair market for exactly where it's at. Or we do floors, paint, roof, ceiling, landscape. We take this thing to the guts, and here's what you're going to get. Which one of these plans works best for you and your family? Now it's not my decision. Now it's yours. Do you want to come out of pocket 110 grand to sell your property? Do you want to come out of pocket 10 to 20? Or do you want to come out of pocket 0, listed as is, and away we go? You pick.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've never heard. I love that. Yeah, because
especially if you're a builder, like you want to tell them that because here's the thing: is if it does go all cash and it goes to an end user, guess who they're going to need? You. So now you can actually get business that you would have got anyways, but now you got it faster and you got paid on the front.
Yeah, that's great. So to keep moving here, so you brought up the market, and I always like to ask this question because, you know, we all know the market's pretty good right now. Yeah, and so a lot of people are wondering because I actually, for example, today I got an email from a guy, you know, we're building a spec home for. He's like, I want it done by, you know, December because the market's a little bit shaky. I think it's going to be a little bit shaky and so on. Obviously, we have an election coming up. Usually that slows things and so on too. So are we at the top of the market with real estate prices right now? And is it still a good time to buy an investment property?
Yes, as long as it's the right property. So we're still buying, but it's got to be the right deal. We're not doing any builds right now because of the market climate. Mm-hmm. So from the numbers that we have that we pay a lot of money for, the market hit its peak in December of 18. So we're already in like the slope. It's already on the downside. We had the lowest interest rates in like 8 years, and it barely made a ripple.
Mm-hmm.
If that would have happened 2 years ago, there'd have been a buying frenzy in the last part of the summer. So we're definitely in a slide. How big? I have no idea. Probably not massive. I think it'll be a very quick whipsaw correction. We're probably going to slide into some form of a recession next year. I think we'll probably recover pretty quickly. We have student debt in the trillions. We have credit card debt that's out of control. We have an entire generation that doesn't understand how this whole thing works because they were kids, and this whole thing crashed. We have a real estate bubble we're in the largest growth cycle in our country's history. It's not sustainable. And we still have really low interest rates. So it's still a good time to buy. It's always a great time to buy and invest. But you just have to know what's best for you and your family. So we're still buyers and we're still sellers. It just depends on the deal. But for everybody that thinks the market's not in big trouble right now is just confused.
Mm-hmm.
It's going down. Everything that we have is sitting on market for 2 and 3 times longer than it did this time last year. It's taking 2 and 3 price reductions to get sold, unless it's priced really low and we get multiple offers. So there's certain price ranges that still go really well. So from where we're at, between 400 and 700 is selling like hotcakes still. Mm-hmm. The stuff that's lower than that is slowed, and the stuff that's higher than that is slowed. And the 2 million to 10 million range has gotten real quiet. The jumbo loans have really, really slowed down. So and we're in a T1 city. If it's hitting us, it's already hit a lot of other places too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what goes up must come down eventually, right? So,
and it's supposed to. This is not good, and I can't wait. I don't like this market. This market's great for all the buildings we have. That's awesome. But as far as a true market, I would rather have the market come back down like crazy and then go up 4% a year, just just sustainable. It's just growth and it's wealth building for everybody, because everybody wants to get rich fast. Yeah. That's fine, but it's better to get rich forever.
Yeah, love that. So let's go into this a little bit more. So what does a preferred investment property look like, for the common investor? So what criteria does it have to meet to fit into, let's say, your portfolio? And then off of that, how do you avoid unwanted surprises when looking for that investment?
Yeah, so again, we do a lot of due diligence. So we don't have a lot of surprises because we do go really slow. And we try to avoid those at all costs. I'd rather back out of a deal because it feels weird than to take it down and find out later. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. And again, for us, it depends on the product. Everything is extremely different. Is this a seller carry because it's being carried back by the trust because Aunt Susie passed away, and we're going to get this deal of some smoking rate. So we don't have a C plus D plus A equals F. It's more of is this something that we can add a little bit of money to and increase our bottom line?
Yeah. So if the roof's falling down or something like that, is that something you're obviously going to avoid, or
No. Oh no. I love foundation problems and I love roofing problems because it freaks everybody else out. Yeah. Who cares the foundation's messed up? I'm going to fix it for 12 grand. I'm going to get it certified by a foundation specialist, but I just got 40 grand off the purchase price. Mm-hmm. I like them. I look for cracks. And I'm like, yes, foundation problems, because it's going to weed out most investors that don't want to touch it. And now it's probably not going to be able to be financed, so it has to go cash. So I look for all that stuff. I look at his leverage.
Mm-hmm. So how far are you spanning out? Are you just doing Long Beach area? Or are you doing other?
No, we're across the whole country. We buy stuff everywhere.
And how are you being able to, have access to this or manage all these different areas? Do you have, boots on the ground basically in every single area for the company? Okay.
Yep. Small, little, teeny tiny teams, usually that are comprised of new real estate agents that are trying to figure it out. So we try to train them up as property managers, and that's what they do. We keep it really simple, and there's It's just not that hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you could fly to some place for $400 or $500, see the real estate, and then it's going to make sense. And then you either do it or you don't. But a lot of people are really afraid to invest where they're not at. And I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I was the same way for years until I realized I can go to Cleveland and I can take down 6 duplexes for $290,000. That's going to cash flow me almost $3,000 a month. How many more of these can I get? I can't even buy a 1-bedroom condo in Long Beach for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just go where the opportunities are. And I'm not that smart. I follow the really smart money.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're spot on too, because I mean, not a lot of people want to leave where they're at, and it's like where I'm at. There's no multifamily I'm currently on Marco Island. I know
Right.
Naples, Florida, probably has some. Fort Myers more, but the more north you go,
There's still not that much because it was all built, in like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Like that's not the product that was built back then.
Mm-hmm.
Houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially there. Everybody's like, I want a house on the water with a pool and a screen enclosure. And it's 2,200 square feet. And it's all marble. Like, and we got this lush grass.
Yeah. Yeah, you're pretty much spot on. Sounds like you know this area pretty well.
I do. I know the area well.
Yeah, very seasonal down here too. That's another thing.
A lot of snowbirds are coming down. A lot of people from Germany. Like you guys got a lot of Europeans that come. Like huge for like the VRBO and Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
I just had an awesome meeting with the guy who owns Holiday Swap. So like you just swap houses for super cheap, and there's a lot of that's happening in Florida.
Yeah, there's a ton of vacation rentals and stuff getting near the beach here, and especially near the beach here, that people are buying as investments and just doing Airbnbs and VRBOs and so on. So, but yeah, you're spot on too. You've kind of brushed on this, but I always like to ask this question. Your product now, and you kind of went over this on the last one. So product knowledge is always key, no matter what business that you're in. It's huge. I mean, me being in the construction business, I have to know our product more than anybody else. And I think that's what's helped us get to where we are as a company. Because I mean, I grew up in it. I know how a house is built from the ground up here. So you should know as much about a product that you can. How are you applying this strategy in your business?
It's the math. If you don't know what it costs for 25 windows on a 3,000 square foot house, and you have some contractor roll up on you, it's like, yeah, it's $20,000. How do you know it's not 8? Like, you have to know this stuff. Mm-hmm. No one's going to do it for you. And especially to keep your contractors on point and like your subs as well. Yeah, it's important to know what stuff costs. And it's important to be able to pencil that out correctly. Like, this was a no-brainer deal, but we got eaten alive in cost because, the flooring was massive and we didn't it's really easy to go sideways in real estate if you don't do the math part correctly. So you have to know your product. Or if you don't, have a massive Rolodex of people that you can call. And that's why social media is so incredible. At least, I mean, I can call tons of people and they'll give you whatever answer I need because I've built that. But, that's just it's really important to know your product inside and out.
And do your research constantly, like we talked about too. So let's talk about your customer service a little bit. Obviously that's a big deal. We brushed on this. What things has your company done to create a great focus on customer service?
So on the part where we're working with just like straight real estate flippers or holders or some kind of investor, we make them money. Like we have a Christmas party, but like we make sure they're making money. That's what makes them happy. Their experience is they want to know their money's protected. They want it to be very clean and very transparent. Everything goes through escrow here in California. Like we're very, very, very transparent, which gives them a very calm feeling. If they have questions, they can get a hold of us and we have answers. And trust me, we're answering lots of those questions right now. What's going on with rent control in California? What should we do? Like the market's slowly starting to decline. Should I sell? So we're that wealth of knowledge and we're that local expert and we're also the global economists as well. They're like, look, here's the, if you don't agree with us, that's perfectly fine. Just let us know what you would like us to do. But here's our expert opinion, and you've hired us to do that.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about long-term relationships. Obviously continuing those relationships no matter what after your transaction, before,
Right.
before and after, like I talked about earlier, is huge. It's just major because you brushed on it too with, you do with construction, for example. I'll use that. I build a house for somebody, they may build a second, third home, they may refer a friend, their family may come down the road and build with us because mom liked it so much.
That's the part that's so important. And there's a lot of builders and contractors that I mentor personally.
Mm-hmm.
I make them text me how many old clients they called every day,
mm-hmm.
just to say what's up. Hey, how's it going?
Cool.
Text message, birthdays. That is your whole business for next year if you just did that. You follow up like, hey, you know what? You have to stay top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the customer service part. Like, if you don't give a shit about your customer, why should they send you business? Why should they refer you anything? If you're constantly like, hey, you know what? This was so cool. I just saw on Facebook that your daughter just graduated high school and she got accepted to SC. That's awesome. That's just being a nice person.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to business, but like, you're doing it because you actually care about them and you want to call and wish them like, congratulations on not raising a scumbag. You know what I mean? So like, and that kind of stuff, it's funny. And then that's how you break the ice. And you're like, hey, hope you guys are doing amazing. If there's anybody that's in your world that needs a contractor, it would mean the world to me if you would just refer us. We loved you guys and your family, and we love working with you. Would love to work with more of your family. So like, people that don't ask for business don't get business.
Yeah.
You got to ask. Everybody's like, oh, Andy was so nice. And then as soon as that, it's like, oh yeah, there's this other agent that dropped off 100,000 flyers on my door. I'm going to call them. Like, ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, like you just said too, doing that follow-up, asking how they personally are without, saying, all right, so, give me, how about I build you a house now, just constantly basically interacting with them and building that relationship. And
right. 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask you how your family is, mm-hmm. which is going to give you a chance to talk about that and weave your business into that conversation. Or they're going to flat out ask you, how's your business?
Mm-hmm.
You could say, it's awesome. We're doing great. We're growing like crazy. And actually, thank you so much for asking. If you have anybody that's in your world that might need our help, it would mean the world to me if you would just think of us like if they ask you. That's mm-hmm. it. You have to ask for business.
Yeah. Awesome. Great answers. And last but not least, I always ask this question to everybody. What exactly do people need to look for when investing in real estate, and why should they choose Andy Dane Carter as their go-to real estate investor of choice?
Sure. You guys can look me up and do tons of due diligence on me. That'll get you all the answers on why you should work with us. But you want to look for a good deal, and you want to be patient. The hardest thing I deal with most of my clients is they're in such a big damn hurry. And it's like, look, do you want a great deal or do you want a fast deal? Like, I don't mind working with you for a year or two. So let's just put that on the table. Working with you is not going to change my life. Mm-hmm. But you working with me and me doing what I do really well and finding you the perfect property to change your family's existence, that could change your life. So if I'm not in a big hurry to get my paycheck, how about we just do this thing the right way and get you exactly what you're trying to get? And then we're going to beat them up in escrow, and we're going to beat them up on the closing, and then we're going to get you the exact property you want. Don't be in a hurry. Real estate's the long game, mm-hmm. not a sprint.
Yeah, Andy, this has been awesome. I mean, you've given so much great value and information today. I really do appreciate you coming on,
Thank you,
man.
bro. Of course.
Yeah, it's been great. And one last thing too, obviously I kind of mentioned them in the intro here. There's so many different ways people can hear you and find you too. Just bring up where they can find you on social, just in case. And any other.
Sure. Yeah, easy to find on social media. Yeah, super easy to find on social media. Just my name, AndyDaneCarter. Andy Dane Carter. I'm heavily on Facebook and Instagram, but mostly Instagram. And we have a YouTube channel called Andy Dane Carter. We have a ton of free content there to learn about like how to flip and buy and hold and invest. We have tons of stuff there. I have a show called Real Estate Hunters that's on Roku and Amazon and Apple TV. That's also on YouTube. If you go to my website, andydanecarter.com, you can download my books for free, which I highly suggest. You don't have to pay for them. And send me DMs if you have questions. Reach out. I love to help.
Andy, once again, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a privilege to have you. And yeah, thank you guys for listening to this episode, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for having me.